Welcome to the Rich Indian Rise of the Rich Indian series. Here we're exploring the trends in the current market where Indians are increasingly showing a propensity towards premiumization of their life experiences, be it property, be it their vehicles, be it their holidays or whatever. So, as a market expert, what do you think, and as an expert in this segment and keen observer, what do you think is the current scenario when it comes to the luxury markets?
Thanks. First of all, Sharmila, thanks for having me. And it's a great topic and very exciting times for premiumization luxury in the country. I think to understand what's really happening from a luxury market perspective in India, it's important to note what are the kind of consumer changes that are happening. We do a lot of these surveys, on conscious consumer, on overall consumer trends. And one of the things that one takes note is that you see the last couple of decades, there are quite a few changes that have happened. One is, of course, the whole economic growth story, which is propelling and fueling a lot more income and, the overall discretionary income, which is finding its way into premium products and luxury products. But what I would say also is the generation that grew out of the 80s and 90s were largely rooted to India and Indian values. And then they started becoming much more globally traveled, occasionally visiting certain countries and getting exposed to some of these brands and products abroad. But today we have a whole generation of people who are working abroad, much more globally exposed, thanks to social media. There's a lot more interaction and interplay with their global counterparts as consumers as well as brands. So I think there's a whole transition that's happening. However, if we just look at what it really means for luxury customers, is that earlier it was buying these products more of a little bit of an occasional indulgence, to where it has reached now is a little bit of front value, really owning good things, self-satisfaction, a little bit of flaunting. But where it is headed towards is where luxury becomes mainstream. I think to that extent, the industry is still nascent and growing. The value systems from an Indian consumer perspective are still very rooted to buy what you need, but is essentially getting out of that mold towards making luxury mainstream and in the form of good products, whether it's cars, whether it's hotels that they stay in, whether holidays, whether it's clothes. So that journey has begun. And a larger global calibration of price points. Earlier things used to be very expensive in India thanks to the duties and the retailing costs, but there's a leveling up of that as well happening. So I think the Indian luxury market is coming of age. There's a lot of HNIs and UHNIs that are coming up. It used to be confined to a very select few large industrialist families or film stars or celebrities. It's finding its way into mainstream consumers, working class, entrepreneurs, startups, and that's really the backbone behind this whole rise in consumption.
So this segment of HNIs and ultra HNIs that we are currently discussing, they are obviously the participants and beneficiary of the Indian economic growth. Now, this new segment of consumers in India, do you think they're conscious of brands or experiences, and what do they really want? What is on their mind when these are particularly high spenders, when they choose to spend their money? What are they looking for?
One of the points that I just mentioned, which is, luxury is almost like a value system, right? As the value system changes, and that happens when you experience a lot more, right? When we used to grow up, we used to think in rupee and spend in rupee. As multinationals came in and individuals started earning almost dollar equivalents, but still thinking in rupee terms. But if you look at the new generation, they are so globally engaged that they are thinking in dollars, earning in dollars, and spending in dollars in their mind. So I think that's really the value system change that we are seeing. And as we go forward in the next 10 years, we'll see that much more. But coming back to your question, I think that where we are right now is almost like occasional indulgence in luxury products. It's almost like a self-reward, saying that, okay, there is a special occasion and I need to buy the best clothes for it, and therefore there are brands and labels that are finding their way. But if you look at some of the Western markets and some of the large luxury markets, luxury has penetrated into everyday life. So if consumers are wearing Western wear, for example, in office, they're all wearing labels, right? How does that become luxury, really become a high quality product which finds its way into everyday products? And I think that's the journey that we're seeing today with this expanded set of consumers, that labels or branded products, perfumes, or jewelry, all of these are becoming part of everyday life rather than an occasional indulgence. And I think that's the change that we see. If we compare it with markets like China, it's very different. I mean, the Chinese market has always been very brand conscious, irrespective of whether the product quality is really up there or not, or it's value for money. The core rooted value system in India still remains to be value for money, but I think that Indians are smarter in terms of seeking real value for what they pay, and therefore they won't blindly pick up brands as such. But if the brands don't commit and deliver real value to the consumers, there's always a takeover.
Taking off from this point, when someone is ready to spend, what value, will be expected of a brand? Because these people, specifically talking about India, because these people can afford any international brand, the spenders. So if you are supposed to cater to them in a domestic market, what should a brand aspire or promise in that space?
I think first thing is about quality. Quality comes in different ways, but today if there is a rising demand for luxury cars, quality and performance is right up there. It's just not that it's a global brand, but in performance terms or in quality terms, it's not up there, but yet people are lapping it up. So I think a brand has to stand for that quality and that commitment of delivery, and it's not only in pre-sales, but it's also in after sales as well. So I think that's very important. The second part of it is, it needs to fit into the larger, I would say, ethos of the Indian consumer. You see some categories working very well, and some categories being seen as very frivolous. So I think somewhere the fit into the Indian value system as to what's considered to be a discretionary, what's considered to be a necessity, and where do people and consumers not spend so much money and would rather sort of be in a value for money segment or buy a reasonably mass brand or mass bridge to luxury kind of brand. I think that understanding is important. So it's not a silver bullet that there's money out there to spend and every luxury brand is going to be successful. There is a formula for the Indian consumer, and that value and the formula needs to be communicated.
That's right. So to my mind, Indian brands, is it a huge opportunity? Because when it comes to luxuries, instantly the thoughts and the mind go to all the international brands, which have legacy brands. Indians do have a bunch of brands, and some of them are also in the global space. But do you think it's the right time for Indian brands to really come up and pace up their quality and really participate and challenge or compete with international brands? Do you think there's an opportunity now?
Absolutely, I think so. I take two kinds of examples here. You look at the entire alcoholic beverage market and the number of single malts that are coming out of India today. Nobody would have imagined that Indian single malt whiskies would find a global footprint and then can be consumed back in India and take so much share away from some of the international brands as well. So the key to luxury is that you have to treat the premium or luxury customer with respect rather than, really trying to presuppose an assumption that they are value conscious and therefore cut down on price or quality. You look at the same example in the apparel segment, the footwear segment, you really not find a lot of companies and brands who have been able to really up the game in terms of quality. There are people who are trying it, whether it's men's apparel, women's apparel, but there's a distinct difference between the quality that some of the international brands have been able to sort of deliver and that goes into sourcing, that goes into the way the products are produced, the eye for detail, all of that coming together in terms of overall customer experience. I think that investment definitely can pay off. And I would also say that, thinking about apparel, if you see, there's a lot of luxury designer brands from India that have come up, but they've been very niche in terms of the occasions. It could be, red carpet events, or it's been largely weddings and so on and so forth. But there's hardly any investment in that segment from Indian brands on an everyday wear perspective, right? How do labels penetrate mainstream consumption and mainstream usage? And I think that's the use case that is kind of under-serviced by Indian brands. But in the global markets, there are so many of these brands who've just penetrated into everyday use cases.
Globally, we see that people are ready to spend a little bit extra and get that distraction-free experience. So be it your YouTube, be it in any platform, OTT platform. I mean, there will be always a base experience and an advanced experience. But do you think that more and more people are ready to spend that little bit more and get the premium experience? What is your take on that?
I think so. I think the very fact that Indians use their trips abroad for shopping is a great indicator of the fact that there is a void in the market, that you don't get great products and great brands in the country. And as we speak, we have clients of ours who are looking at, opening retail formats where they get some of these brands. You look at the whole men's segment, maybe the women's segment for that matter, it's highly underserviced in terms of the options that are out there, in terms of everyday wear, office wear, occasional party wear. There's a whole void space which is today almost unfulfilled by the Indian companies. And that makes the consumer go out and shop. And it's not only about, let's say, a brand being present, it's finding the right sizes, the right fits, the right materials for Indian condition. And I'm talking specifically about apparel in this particular case, right? So just nuancing the product in a way that it fits the Indian needs could make a big difference. And I think there's a big void here right now, and there are companies that are trying to fill that space.
Where do you think is the luxury market headed in the next 10 years? Because do you think there is another uber luxury segment emerging, which we continue to hear of in real estate?
Definition of luxury, the definition of luxury is going to change. What we call luxury will become mainstream. The bridge to luxury or premium products, I think there's going to be a leveling out of things. I mean, you look at it segment by segment. Today, Dyson products are so much more expensive than the next comparable, but people are lapping it up today. Apple is doing well in the country. If Tesla comes in, it's expected to do well. There's other categories like footwear. Companies coming into India at a very, very high price point, and yet there are takers for it. So I think this whole generational shift that's there, which is leading to the definition of luxury changing, which is not going to be about occasional indulgence, but how does it penetrate into everyday usage. I think that's the shift that will drive huge growth in the luxury market. So I certainly see that the premium products market and the luxury market is here to explode in the country. One of the things that has not worked in the past has been the retailing format and the complications of retail, especially if you're a single brand retail, like open shops, in expensive real estate locations. It's been economically pretty difficult and sometimes even unviable where people have had to shut shops. But thanks to e-commerce or the luxury portals, there's a very good test platform available for these brands as well. So I think the entry into the whole retailing format has become much more, I would say, financially viable for brands to come in as well, and that's where demand meets supply. One other thing that I would say very importantly is that maybe 7 or 8 years ago, there used to be a significant price difference between the same product in Singapore, Dubai, and India. I think that has also leveled out significantly now. And with that leveling out, the buying behavior is likely to be much more in India than just on shopping trips abroad.
So do you think that the ratio is going to tilt more towards uh, those heavy spenders in the coming years? Because now it's just a niche segment, right? It's just a small slice of the pie.
I think so. I think so. It's also a generational shift. Like I said, the millennials, 2000 born person today is a consumer in 5 or 6 years, with so many people going through IB education, SATs, studying in the US, working in Europe, all of these guys coming back to India, which is such a promising economy. Culturally, we're going to be much more globally coupled with buying habits and our behavior and approach towards brands. So I do see the next 10 years generationally will change the way luxury behaves, and it will become a stay, opening up a huge opportunity.
Great, Angshuman. Great talking to you on this subject. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.